When it comes to recruiting and commitments, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day, whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to listen to your podcast. This show is always free, and the show always appreciates your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down and the sports, they kind of stop sporting like we want them to. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus, and they do it daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hey, USC got a commitment from a defensive end with the last name Griffin, and he comes from the state of Georgia. From Gainesville, Georgia. Again, last name is Griffin. First name, Xavier. Class of 2026. Four-star 2026 edge, Xavier Griffin. He committed to USC on Saturday after visiting the Trojans unofficially for the second time. Second time this summer he's done that. Back in June, Xavier and his mom visited together, and they came back again this weekend. Griffin has been communicating regularly with USC's defensive line coach, Eric Henderson, since January. Okay, so they've been keeping that communication process up. He's considered one of the top rising juniors in the country. He's got over 30 offers, and they're from everyone you want a letter from in college football, right? Obviously USC, Alabama, Michigan, Florida State, Georgia, Oregon, Texas, Ole Miss, A&M, Missouri, Penn State, LSU, Florida, Notre Dame, Tennessee, the list goes on. Every school you want to hear from, he's heard from. As far as where he ranks nationally, Griffin is considered the number 27 overall prospect, according to On3. He is also considered the number 2 edge rusher and the number 5 overall player in the state of Georgia for the 2026 cycle. Let me be clear about something, okay? USC isn't going to stop recruiting the state, the Peach State, just because Xavier Griffin, stay tuned, I mentioned that name for a reason. I'm going to mention it again here very shortly. As well as Justice Terry. Look, just because those two players did the old okey doke, commit in March, decommit in June, that doesn't mean you stop recruiting the state of Georgia. You keep that relentless pursuit going. Now, he's considered an elite recruit, so obviously that means USC is going to go after him. As a sophomore in 2023, last year, Griffin had 52 tackles, 20 of them went for a loss. He also had 9 sacks, 7 quarterback hurries. He's credited with 2 pass deflections as well as 2 forced fumbles. He's a playmaker. Okay, you can never have too many of those, especially on the defensive line. So now USC's 2026 recruiting class, it's off to a pretty solid start when you think about it. Again, it's still 2 years away, but you've got commitments from Xavier Griffin, defensive lineman Jay Myron, call him Tron Baker. You got cornerback Brandon Lockhart. You got athlete Madden Reardon, cornerback Dominic Kelly, who just recently transferred out to IMG Academy. Here's the thing. Again, we're talking about class of 2026. In signing day terms, that's like dog years. It's still 2 years away. So it might as well be 14 years away, right? However, what we do know, Xavier's happy. His mom is super excited, like really, really, really excited. In fact, she put a message out on X, formerly known as Twitter, that said this: Lord, if I had 10,000 tongues, I couldn't say thank you enough. God is good, and when I say he shows up and shows out, he has done just that. Thank you to our village, because Lord knows it's not easy, and have a top prospect kid isn't for the weak. I think what Mama Griffin is implying there is she was feeling really overwhelmed. Everybody was coming at her and her son from all different directions. But she really appreciated, she liked the way USC went about the recruiting process. She feels really comfortable with it, and she could not be happier with her son's decision. Now, that's great. Love having the commitment. You always want to get commitments, but I'm going to keep it real. Today's definition of a commitment, this is how I spell it. S like Sam, O-R-T, second word, O-F, sort of. Look, guys commit today, they eventually decommit. If not months later, they do it sooner, within weeks. It happens. It's happening more and more. It's becoming like it's almost the norm. Look, even Alabama's going through it right now, which is really odd. They lost a 4-star defensive back to the University of Central Florida. Speaking of, yes, I know. As each day passes, that D. Reddick to USC smoke, pretty much gone. Can't smell it anymore. You know the rule. The longer it goes, the more time you put between something actually happening and it actually happening means it's not going to. Sometimes distance does not make the heart grow fonder. You put distance between you, it makes life easier. It's a whole nother subject that could go a whole bunch of different directions, but we won't. Look, even Oregon, they lost a couple of commitments recently. They just lost a 4-star defensive commitment. Tight end. Well, the 4-star defensive commitment, defensive tackle, Josiah Sharma. Remember him, kid from NorCal? Everyone thought USC should have. He's no longer committed to the Ducks. Now there's a tight end who just committed to them a couple of weeks ago. Not anymore. It happened. So they can make it rain, but you know what? Other people are making it rain too sometimes. Or, the honeymoon phase of those visits, they wear off. It's like, let me take a step back. I mentioned the name Xavier Griffin. Yeah, that Xavier Griffin. The kid who decommitted from USC in June, along with Justice Terry, the other defensive lineman from the state of Georgia. Well, Xavier Griffin, he just recently released his final 3 for when he makes his next commitment. And those final 3 are Miami, Georgia, and guess what? USC is still part of the equation. Not South Carolina, USC, University of Southern California. He said December is when he's still scheduled to make his commitment announcement, but that could change if he feels 100% by October 12th, which I believe is his birthday. Isaiah told On3 that he could potentially move that date up to around his birthday. There he is, October 12th. He's still not 100%, but he's thinking about an October commitment if he feels ready at that time. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, fool me once, shame on me. Shame on you, excuse me. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now, his final 3, I'm going to break it down this way. If he goes to Miami, it's because he hit the lottery. They probably made him an offer he couldn't refuse. If he picks Georgia, which I think is the favorite, he's going to get a nice NIL package. Don't be naive. Georgia's paying certain players, just like USC will pay certain players, and they will pay them well. But I'm using Isaiah's own words. If he picks Georgia, it's because of the love I have for the city of Athens, the love I have for the staff. It's all about the love I have for the people and the atmosphere at Georgia. Athens is a small college town, but it feels just right. It reminds me of downtown Savannah, and it's always good to get back, close quote. Isaiah's from Savannah. That's where he goes to high school. It makes sense, right? But here's the thing. USC's in his final 3. If he picks USC, that would rock Kirby Smart's world. It would knock him to his knees. And it would probably also mean, on a positive note for USC's defense looks pretty good. I think that would be enough to help Xavier Griffin feel 100% ready. We know he likes Coach Henny. But so if he does pick USC, like I said, here's what I would look at. Here's how I would look at it this way. By that time, by October 12th, USC will have already played LSU. They will have played at Michigan. They will have hosted Wisconsin. And if he decides he wants to spend his birthday in LA, USC just happens to be hosting Penn State that week on October 12th. Just saying. That would be a telling sign. I'm not saying he's coming. Just kind of painting a picture for you. Now, my point is this. Again, we will know by then, by October 12th, if the Trojans really have a good chance, or if Isaiah Griffin's just using Coach Henny as a friend to kind of keep him relevant. Now, there's one more piece of recruiting news I want to talk about before we get out of this segment. And again, it has to do with the state of Georgia. From Buford, Georgia, 4-star Georgia linebacker commit. He took an unofficial visit to USC over this weekend. His name is Jordan Perlotte. Perlotte? Perlotte. And he's considered one of the top overall talents in the entire 2025 recruiting cycle. He is currently the 201st best overall prospect, the number 21 linebacker in the 2025 cycle, and the number 27 overall prospect in the state of Georgia. WeAreSC.com learned over on Thursday that Jaden is he was taking an unofficial visit to USC over the weekend. Well, he did, and he had a really good time. And how do I know he had a really good time? I'll tell you right now. Last August, when Juju Lewis committed to USC, he actually tagged that tweet. And he also tagged USC's then linebacker coach, Brian Odom. And he was asked about his level of interest in the Trojans. And this is what he said then. This was back in August 2023. That's the move. I love it. He was referring to Juju Lewis committing to USC. Quote, Troy Polamalu was my favorite player, and I love it every time I'm down there, end quote. So, Jaden has been committed to Georgia since, December of 2022. When you look at On3's recruiting prediction machine, Georgia, 13%, Florida State, 44%, Tennessee at 20%, USC, 16.5%. So what's changed? Well, this is what's changed. The other day, Scott Schrader over there at WeAreSC.com, he put in his flip prediction, and he's got Jaden going from Georgia to USC. This is how, if I'm USC, this is how I'm approaching recruiting the state of Georgia. This is the tactic I'm going to use. I'm going to let the Georgia program implode. I'm just going to keep picking up the strays. And I'm going to stick around through the entire, I know you will, but stick around, especially for the third segment, because I'm going to come back to the whole Georgia thing and how it ties into recruiting. And if you are USC in your recruiting, what would you be looking for? But again, when I talk about Georgia's program imploding, I'm talking about off the field. I'm not talking about their on the field product. That's aces. That's good stuff. But what's going on off the field? This is what I would say to that. If the Fulmer Cup was still being chased, if that was an actual thing still, I think Georgia would have lapped the field by now. It's summertime, and you know what that means? It's barbecue season. And you want to stock up on all of your grilling favorites. And you want to earn cash back every time you purchase when you use Ibotta. Now you won't have to choose between burgers or hot dogs. You can get both. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. And the average Ibotta user, they earn $256 per year. And that could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, an airplane flight, or maybe that fancy dinner you want to take somebody out with. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibotta, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or you can put it on a gift card. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. And did you know you can save with over 2,400 different brands, and you can shop at over 1,000 different retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, or you can go to Lowe's or Macy's or Sephora, Best Buy, and there's a lot more than just that. It's time you joined over 50 million users who use Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering Locked On USC listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and don't download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's I, B like boy, OTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONCollege. Warmer sunny days are calling. They're here. It's hot. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for the summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with the options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you always have the time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make the day today. You kickstart a new healthy routine. Stop procrastinating. Start today. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Make your day delicious. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. You deserve to treat yourself to restaurant quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon. And you also deserve to keep the kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. All right. If you had to choose the top 40 players on the roster, what would be the rationale you would use? You notice, I did not say the best players. I want to make this very clear. But the most important players. For me, that's a big distinction. It's apples and oranges. Look, let me try and make it easy for you to understand. I apologize if I'm confusing you. I don't think anybody would argue that Zachariah Branch is one of the best players on USC's roster. I mean, he'd probably be in everybody's top 5, right? But if I asked you who was more important to USC's success in 2024, again, who was more important? Would you rank him ahead of Jonah Monheim or Bear Alexander? Probably not. Look, USC's wide receiver room has a lot of talent, including guys who play the same position as Zachariah. I'm talking about guys like Mekhi Lemon, Xavier Jordan, transferred in from Jay Fair from Auburn. Look, they might not have Branch's God-given natural abilities. However, I think USC's offense could still be pretty darn productive even if Zachariah wasn't on the field. I'm not rooting for that. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just trying to draw the parallel for you to see so you have a better understanding where I'm coming from. Because Jonah Monheim is the number 1 most important player on this year's roster. I'm going to give you my list of 40. Let me put you this. If Jonah's not on the roster, USC's offensive line, it is in a very precarious situation. Not only is Jonah USC's starting center, I think everyone probably would agree he is also backup plan 1A at left tackle if he's needed at that spot for whatever the reason. Okay. Right now, backing up Elijah Page, true freshman. Look, I'm not worried about Killian O'Connor playing center if you need to move Jonah off the left tackle or any other position on the offensive line. It would be a step back, only because Jonah is, that's what separates him from the rest of the guys on the offensive line. He's just that good. But it changes the entire offensive line. USC starting 5, and let's go a little bit deeper than that, plus Gino Quinones, and we can take a couple of redshirt freshmen like Amos Talalele Tobias Raymond. That's what separates total disaster from surviving the season. And I'm going to use that same logic and rationale when I'm talking about Bear Alexander. That's why he's the number 2 most important player on this year's roster. Without him, I just don't know how. We already know USC's defensive line. A lot of skeptics out there. Everybody's arms crossed, saying, show me. Got to see it. Imagine USC's depth right now, their depth chart, without Bear Alexander. All right. Here's my top 11 most important. In this order. And I went 11 out of instead of 10 for a reason. And you'll understand why. So I got Jonah Monheim, Bear Alexander, Mason Murphy, Elijah Page, Emmanuel Prignon, Anthony Lucas, Nate Clifton, Kobe Pepe, Elijah Hughes, Miller Moss, coming in at number 11 as the most important player, Zachariah Branch. As I explained already. Moss is USC's starting quarterback, despite me having him as the 10th most important guy. Reason being, Jaden Mayaba, backup quarterback for the moment, he has a full year's worth of starting experience that he got last year at UNLV. Didn't do too bad. Threw for over 3,000 yards, threw for 17 touchdowns, ran for over 300 yards, had a couple more touchdowns on the ground. There's a lot. There's a Jaden Mayaba camp out there thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe he should be the starter. They like his size. They like his ceiling. So I know a lot of you are thinking, what are you talking about, Mark? I would change that around. Why is Kobe Pepe in that group? Again, USC needs a nose guard. They need somebody over the ball. I have a feeling he's going to be a really important piece this year. My next grouping. Kamari Ramsey, Easton Mascarenas Arnold, Jamil Muhammad, Braylon Shelby, Mason Cobb, Jaden Mayava, Woody Marks, Alani Noah, Gino Quinones, Tobias Raymond. So again, this is where the apples and oranges comparison starts making it difficult to really put this thing in order. Look, as you can tell by that second grouping, I put a really high value on the defensive side of the ball. Especially, the defensive ends and the linebacker spots. USC needs to show that those guys that are going to be playing or competing for those positions can make something happen. At that rush end, it's got to be either Jamil Muhammad, it's got to be Braylon Shelby. Behind them, you've got guys like, I don't know, is it going to be Anthony Lucas? Even though I have him up in the top 11. We really don't know where guys are going to be playing quite yet. We know that Coach Antonlynn likes versatility. And I can name the next. Look, again, I can put the names in a hat, shake it around, and the list probably wouldn't change that much more. Here's my next grouping. Deuce Robinson, Jacoby Lane, Achille Arnold, Jade Abasiri, Gavin Meyer, John Humphrey, Jacoby Covington, Prophet Brown, Eddie Chapliski, Zion Branch. I could just as easily move those next guys up. But outside of Gavin Meyer, the wide receiver room, it could survive with one of those guys missing for a game. I'm not talking about for the entire year or for an extended period of time. And I think everyone should agree the defensive backs are the deepest part of the roster. So yeah, they're important. But again, each one of these guys, I think USC has a more than capable backup. Here are the rest of the most important players. Anthony Beavers, Quentin Joyner, Marion Peterson, Killian O'Connor, Lake McRee, Joey Olson, Walter Matthews, and Kyle Ford. I know a lot of you guys are saying, Mark, that list is just weird. How are you coming up with it? First of all, I don't know how you come up with the 40 most important players when you're trying to it's a combination of offense and defense, special teams. If I was putting together a list, I would probably do the top 20 on offense, top 20 on defense, rather than trying to commingle them. I know we're putting together an article and a story over there on wearesc.com. It's really interesting to see how the 40 most important player list shapes up. It's myself and Eric McKinney and Chris Arledge. We submitted our list. Eric's got his own algorithm, his own formula. We'll see what it spits out. But that's my top 40 most important. I gave you my rationale why, specifically as it relates to the offensive line and the defensive line. This is USC's most important position groups that need to show out in 2024 if the team is going to be successful. Again, I'm not talking about the best players. Completely different topic as far as I'm concerned. I love sports. Love them so much, I never want them to stop. College football is almost here. In fact, USC starts fall camp on Friday. Cannot wait. But you know what? The playoffs they're done. We're getting fewer and fewer games. We get Major League Baseball right now. And the sports, they're just not sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all their customers with a boost or a bonus. And they're doing it daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/locked-on and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Does USC need to go rogue? To be more competitive, to challenge for those championships, do they need to go off the reservation, so to speak? Become the anti-hero? Be more like a Deadpool or a Wolverine? I was watching a college football analyst make the argument. I believe he works for the 24/7 network. His name's Carl Reed. He was making the argument that Georgia fans should take a deep breath and allow their head coach, Kirby Smart, a little bit of latitude. As I mentioned in the first segment, they're having some problems up there right now, down there, off the field. What this gentleman was saying is that, Kirby does not have a coaching problem. He said Kirby is a disciplinarian. He said Coach Smart is a very strong leader. He's a good man, and he's been one for a very long time. And then he kind of started to make some excuses for why Coach Smart is having some challenges off the field, right? This is what he said. When you give young players a lot of money, toys, resources, these are some of the unintended consequences that come along with it. And he's right. I've kind of talked about this. You start giving young people this kind of money that they've never seen before in their lives, fast cars, anything they ask for, yeah, you start losing perspective. Character starts taking a backseat. He essentially saying, look, it's the nature of the beast. And he wanted to point out that, great character and great players, not the same thing. Now you understand why I wanted you to stick around. All you got to do, if you need some anecdotal evidence, go back to Urban Meyer's teams at Florida. Yeah. Go back to the perception of some of Jimmy Johnson's teams when he was Miami's head coach, the Hurricanes. Or when Dennis Erickson was their head coach. I mean, look Dennis Erickson was able to turn around Oregon State. Took them from a middle of the road, below average program to competing, getting to the Fiesta Bowl and whooping up on Notre Dame. He wasn't doing it with high character guys. He wasn't bringing guys into the fold who you'd say, you know what? Let me bring you home. I want to introduce you to my daughter. Those types. Well, not all of them. Here's what Carl Reed was trying to say. Winning in college football is what gets you paid, whether you're the head coach, in today's world, the players, Winning is all that matters. The argument is, I can make the argument, who is Lincoln Riley going to choose? Is he, when he's recruiting, if he wants to win championships, if he had a choice, is he going to take that really great guy who's also a good football player, or is he going to go for that really great football player but might have some questionable characteristics? And 9 times out of 10, a coach is going to go with talent over character. I don't disagree with that. Obviously, you want both, right? However, because of the era that we're playing in today, so much money's involved, coaches have been put in that position where they're sacrificing character over talent because they got to win right away, today, now. And that's how cutthroat it's gotten. So Georgia, Alabama, LSU, SEC fan in general, they might be willing to look the other way. Now I'm going to ask you, Trojan fans, are you willing to look the other way? Should USC take the same approach? Should they look past some character flaws and focus on talent only? It's not like USC hasn't had issues before. They've gone down this road. Lots of guys have gotten in trouble with the law. Too many to count, to be honest with you. But let's say you're a Georgia fan. If you were asked to get rid of all the guys who have been in trouble this offseason, the last couple of off seasons, would you trade your roster for Vanderbilt's roster? What would they say? If you're a USC fan, same thing. Would you trade your roster for, I don't know, Oregon's roster? Ohio State's roster? Is it by hook or crook, by any means necessary? I mean, how much would a national championship matter to you? Or how much satisfaction do you think you can gain if the best player who possibly makes the game-winning play that gets you that championship trophy? What happens if that person turns out to be a sexual deviant or happens to physically assault others? How does that make you feel? You still want that player on your team? You still want them representing USC? I don't know. Give me your feedback. You know where to find me. I'm sure I'm going to hear back from you anyways regarding the top 40 list. I hope so. Did you like this episode? I did. I had a lot of fun. Do me a favor if you're watching on YouTube. Become a subscriber. Click that red subscribe button. It's free. See this? Thumbs up. Smash it. Helps the show. And do me yourself a favor. Click that bell notification button. And that way you won't miss an episode. There's a lot going on this week. By the way, fall camp starts Friday. I'm gonna be your Sherpa. I'm gonna lead you there. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.